The Galactic Council had seen many species rise and fall across 10,000 years. They had watched empires crumble and new civilizations take their place. But in all that time, they had never seen anything quite like the humans. Ambassador Krelvac stood before the massive viewing screen in the council chambers. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he tried to process what he was seeing. The footage showed a single human soldier standing against 12 Vorax warriors. The Vorax were known throughout the galaxy as the most brutal fighters. They stood 3 meters tall with armor like skin and claws that could tear through starship hulls. The human was small in comparison. He wore simple combat armor and carried a basic rifle, nothing special, nothing that should have given him any advantage. Yet as Krelvax watched, the human moved through the Vorax like water through sand. He ducked under a claw swipe, rolled to the side, and fired 3 precise shots into the weak point under a Vorax arm. The creature fell. Before its body hit the ground, the human had already moved to his next target. "How is this possible?" Krelvax whispered. High Counselor Thenra shifted her massive bulk on her hovering platform. She was ancient even by the long-lived standards of her species. Her voice crackled like old paper when she spoke. "We asked ourselves the same question when we first encountered them. That footage is from the Battle of Nexus 7. That soldier's name was Marcus Cole. He was not their best warrior. He was not even considered special among his kind." Not special, Krelvax could not believe it. He killed 12 Vorax single-handedly. Indeed, and when we investigated, we discovered something remarkable about the humans. They do not have super soldiers. They do not have genetic modifications or cybernetic enhancements like the Vorax. They do not have natural armor or venom or psychic abilities. They are, by galactic standards, one of the weakest species to achieve spacefaring civilization. Then how do they fight like this? Thenra gestured with one of her many limbs. The screen changed to show a different scene. It was a training facility on Earth. Hundreds of humans ran through mud under a burning sun. Their instructors screamed at them. Some collapsed and were dragged away. Others kept going despite bleeding feet and exhausted bodies. "They break themselves," Thenra said softly, "and then they rebuild themselves into something new." The scene shifted again. Now it showed the same recruits months later. They moved as a unit, their actions perfectly synchronized. They climbed walls that seemed impossible to scale. They swam through freezing water for hours. They stayed awake for days while solving complex problems. The process is brutal. Many fail, many quit. But those who survive, Thenra paused, those who survive become something that should not exist. Regular beings transformed into weapons through nothing but training and will. Krelvax watched in silence as the footage continued. He saw humans doing things that defied logic. One soldier carried a wounded companion for 50 kilometers through enemy territory. Another held a defensive position for 18 hours without sleep or support. A small squad of 7 humans defeated an entire Vorax raiding party of 200. "They call it forging," Thenra explained. "Like metal in a fire, the weak parts burn away. What remains is harder than before." "But surely there are limits," Krelvax said. "Surely they cannot all be like this." "That is the terrifying part, Ambassador. They cannot all be like this. Many humans are soft, peaceful, and would die quickly in combat. But any human, given the right training and motivation, has the potential to become what you see on that screen. It is not in their bodies. It is in their minds. They can choose to become unbreakable." The screen now showed a different soldier. She was smaller than the others, with short dark hair and scars covering half her face. Her name appeared at the bottom of the image, Commander Sarah Chen. "This one," Thenra said, "is why I called you here today. She has become a problem." Commander Chen stood on a rocky hilltop. Behind her were the smoking ruins of what had once been a Vorax outpost. Around her were the bodies of countless enemy soldiers. She was covered in blood, most of it not her own. Despite her injuries, she stood straight and tall. The Vorax attacked a human colony world 3 months ago, Thenra continued. They killed 30,000 civilians before the humans could respond. Commander Chen was sent with a force of 500 soldiers to drive them out. 500 against the Vorax, Krelvax was shocked. The Vorax had stationed 10,000 warriors on that world. That is suicide. That is what the Vorax thought. They were wrong. The footage showed the human assault. It was chaos and fire and death. The humans moved like ghosts, striking from shadows and vanishing before the Vorax could respond. They set traps. They used the terrain. They never stopped, never rested, never gave the enemy a moment of peace. The battle lasted 42 days. At the end, Commander Chen had lost 312 soldiers. The Vorax had lost all 10,000. The survivors report that she was always at the front of every attack. She slept only 2 hours each night. She was wounded 17 times and kept fighting. Krelvax felt something he had not experienced in centuries: fear. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Because Commander Chen and her remaining soldiers have not stopped. The colony world is secure, but she has declared that she will hunt every Vorax who participated in the initial attack. She has traced them back to their home system. She is currently on her way there with her 188 remaining soldiers. She plans to attack the Vorax homeworld with less than 200 soldiers." "Yes. That is not bravery, that is madness." Thenra was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was heavy with something like admiration and fear mixed together. "Perhaps, but I have learned something important about humans, Ambassador. When they decide something is worth fighting for, when they believe in their cause with everything they have, they become capable of things that should be impossible. Logic says Commander Chen will fail. Her soldiers will die. The Vorax will crush them. But I have watched humans do the impossible before. I watched them defeat the Krath hive mind with nothing but determination and ingenuity. I watched them survive the burning of New Terra when every other species would have surrendered. I watched Marcus Cole kill 12 Vorax warriors because he refused to accept that he should lose." The screen showed Commander Chen addressing her soldiers. They were tired and wounded and far from home, but their eyes burned with something that made Krelvax uncomfortable to look at. "They are not afraid," he realized. "No," Thenra agreed. "They are not, and that is what makes them the most dangerous species this galaxy has ever known. Not their strength, not their technology, but their absolute refusal to accept defeat. They take regular beings and forge them into champions through nothing but training and unbreakable will." "What do you want me to do?" Krelvax asked. "I want you to go to them. Talk to Commander Chen. Try to make her see reason before she starts a war that could consume the entire sector. And if she refuses to listen..." Thenra turned her ancient eyes to the screen, where Commander Chen stood surrounded by her soldiers. "Then may the stars have mercy on the Vorax, because Commander Chen certainly will not." Commander Sarah Chen stood in the cargo bay of the transport ship and looked at the faces of her soldiers. 188 of them remained from the original 500. Each one carried scars from the battle for New Harmony. Each one had lost friends in that terrible fight. And each one had volunteered for this mission. "You all know why we're here," she said. Her voice was calm but carried to every corner of the bay. 3 months ago, the Vorax came to New Harmony. They killed our people, our families, our children. They thought we would cry and hide and beg for peace. A low growl went through the assembled soldiers. They were wrong. Chen paced in front of her troops. She was smaller than most of them, but somehow she seemed to fill the entire space with her presence. "We drove them off our world. We hunted them through the stars. And now we're going to finish what they started. Not because command ordered us to, not because it's the smart thing to do, but because some things cannot be allowed to stand." Private James Rodriguez stood near the front. He was young, barely 20 years old. Before New Harmony, he had been a farmer's son who joined the military because he wanted to see the stars. Now his eyes held something harder, something that had been forged in the fires of battle. "Commander," he said, "they outnumber us 1,000,000 to 1 on their homeworld. How do we win?" Chen smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "We don't have to beat them all, Private. We just have to hurt them so badly that they never think about attacking human worlds again. We have to make them fear us." "They're already afraid of us," Sergeant Kate Williams said. She was a veteran of a dozen campaigns, her body more scar tissue than smooth skin. "I saw it in their eyes on New Harmony. They didn't understand how we kept fighting. They didn't know how to deal with enemies who wouldn't stay down." "Exactly," Chen said. "That fear is our greatest weapon. The Voraks believe in strength. They believe the biggest and strongest should always win. They don't understand what we are. They don't understand that you can take an ordinary person and turn them into something extraordinary through nothing but training and will." She looked at each soldier in turn. "You were not born warriors. None of you were. 6 months ago, Rodriguez was planting crops. Williams was a school teacher. Lieutenant Park was studying medicine. You came from farms and cities and everything in between. There was nothing special about any of you." The soldiers listened in silence. "But then you went through training. You pushed your bodies past what you thought was possible. You were broken down and built back up. You learned that the limits you believed in were lies. You learned that the mind can drive the body far beyond what nature intended." Chen held up her hand. It was covered in fresh scars from the Battle of New Harmony. "I've been hurt. I've been tired. I've wanted to quit more times than I can count. But every time I wanted to give up, I thought about the people counting on me. I thought about the soldiers beside me, and I found something more inside myself. You all did the same. That's why you're here." She lowered her hand. "The Voraks have their natural armor. They have their claws and their strength, but they've never had to fight for anything. Their evolution gave them everything they needed. They don't know what it means to be weak and become strong through effort. They don't understand determination because they've never needed it." "We're going to teach them," Corporal Yuki Tanaka said quietly. Chen nodded. "We're going to show them what happens when you attack the species that creates champions from regular soldiers. We're going to make them understand that numbers don't matter, that size doesn't matter, that the only thing that truly matters is the will to keep fighting when everything says you should fail." An alarm sounded through the ship. They were approaching the edge of Vorak space. "Get to your positions," Chen ordered. "Remember your training. Remember what they took from us. And remember that today we are not just soldiers. We are the answer to every species that thought humanity was weak. We are proof that the greatest weapon in the universe is the unbreakable human spirit." The soldiers moved to their stations with practiced efficiency. There was no fear in their movements, only purpose. Chen watched them go and felt a surge of pride. They were not super soldiers. They were not genetic experiments or cybernetic monsters. They were ordinary people who had chosen to become extraordinary. And nothing in the galaxy was more dangerous than that. Ambassador Krelvax arrived at the human fleet 3 days before they reached Vorak space. His diplomatic vessel was small and fast, designed for exactly these kinds of urgent missions. He had spent the journey studying everything he could find about Commander Chen and her soldiers. What he learned disturbed him greatly. Chen had grown up on a colony world called Green Valley. She had been a botanist before joining the military. She had no combat experience before basic training, no family history of military service, nothing that should have made her special. But her training records were remarkable. She had graduated top of her class, not because she was the strongest or fastest, but because she simply refused to stop. Instructors reported that she would fail an exercise, analyze what went wrong, and then try again, and again, and again, until she succeeded. It was the same pattern throughout her career. She faced impossible situations and found ways through them, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through stubborn, relentless determination. The shuttle bay of Chen's flagship was busy with preparations when Krelvax arrived. Soldiers moved equipment and checked weapons. The air smelled of oil and tension. Commander Chen met him personally. She was shorter than he expected, barely reaching his shoulder, but her presence was undeniable. When she looked at him, he felt as though she was evaluating exactly how long it would take to kill him. "Ambassador," she said, "the council sent you to talk me out of this." It was not a question. "I am here to explore all possible solutions," Krelvax said carefully. "The council is concerned about the implications of a direct assault on the Vorax homeworld." Chen laughed. It was a harsh sound. "The council wasn't concerned when the Vorax killed 30,000 of my people. They weren't concerned when they watched the attack happening and did nothing to help. But now that we're fighting back, suddenly everyone wants peace. The political situation is complicated." "No, Ambassador, it's simple. The Vorax attacked us. We're going to make sure they never do it again. That's all there is." She led him through the ship. Everywhere Krelvax looked, he saw humans preparing for battle. They maintained their weapons with practiced care. They studied maps of Vorax defenses. They trained in hand-to-hand combat, their movements fast and brutal. "You cannot possibly win," Krelvax said. "The numbers are against you." "Numbers?" Chen stopped walking and turned to face him. "Let me tell you about numbers, Ambassador. During training, they tell us that the human body can only function without sleep for 72 hours. After that, we're supposed to collapse. But I've seen soldiers stay awake for twice that long. I've done it myself. The numbers say it's impossible, but we do it anyway." "That is different." "Is it? The numbers said we couldn't beat the Vorax on New Harmony. We did. The numbers said our assault would fail. We won. The numbers are just limits that other species accept. Humans are not good at accepting limits." They reached the bridge. Officers worked at their stations with calm efficiency. A massive viewscreen showed the stars ahead, with a red marker indicating the location of the Vorax homeworld. "I'm not going to stop," Chen said. "I'm not going to negotiate. I'm not going to give the Vorax time to prepare or call for help from their allies. We're going to hit them fast and hard, and we're going to make them remember what happens when they attack human worlds." Krelvax tried one more time. "Commander, please, think about your soldiers. You're asking them to die." Chen's expression changed. For a moment she looked tired, old, human. "I'm not asking them anything, Ambassador. I told them exactly what this mission would cost. I told them the odds. I told them that most of us probably won't come back, and every single one of them volunteered anyway. Do you know why?" Krelvax shook his head. "Because they understand something that the rest of the galaxy doesn't. Being human isn't about surviving. It's about standing up for what matters, even when the cost is everything. My soldiers know they're probably going to die. They're going anyway, not because they want to die, but because some things are worth dying for." She turned back to the viewscreen. "The Vorax need to learn that attacking humanity has consequences. If we don't teach them that lesson, they'll do it again. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but eventually they'll look at another human world and think it's an easy target, and more innocent people will die. So you're sacrificing yourselves to send a message." "I'm sacrificing myself. My soldiers are here because they chose to be. That's what makes us different from the Vorax, Ambassador. They fight because it's in their nature. We fight because we believe in something. And belief is a weapon that never runs out of ammunition." Krelvax understood then that nothing he said would change her mind. Commander Chen was not acting from anger or revenge. She was acting from something deeper, a conviction that could not be argued with or reasoned away. "I will report to the council," he said quietly. "Is there anything you want me to tell them?" Chen thought for a moment. Tell them to watch. Tell them to record everything that happens. And tell them that if any other species is thinking about attacking humanity, they should watch very carefully what happens to those who try." She smiled again, and this time it reached her eyes. "We're coming, Ambassador, and heaven help anyone who gets in our way." The assault on the Vorax homeworld began at dawn. Or rather, it began at what would have been dawn on Earth. In space, there was no day or night, but humans carried their rhythms with them wherever they went, and Chen had decided that dawn was the right time to begin. 188 soldiers against a world of billions. The Vorax had detected them coming, of course. Their defense fleet moved to intercept. Thousands of warships surrounded the homeworld, bristling with weapons and filled with warriors eager for battle. Commander Chen smiled when she saw them. "They still don't understand," she said to Lieutenant Park. "They think they can stop us with ships and guns." "What do we do, Commander?" "We go through them." The human ships were not designed for direct combat. They were transports, modified with extra armor and weapons but still outmatched by true warships. Against the Vorax fleet, they should have been destroyed in seconds. But Chen was not planning a space battle. "All ships maximum acceleration. Head straight for the planet, don't stop for anything." The transport ships surged forward. Vorax weapons fire filled the space around them. Several human ships took hits. One exploded in a ball of fire, but the others kept going, weaving and dodging through the enemy formation. Private Rodriguez gripped his restraints as the ship shook from a near miss. He was afraid. Every rational part of his brain screamed that this was suicide, that they should turn back, that survival was more important than revenge. But then he remembered his family on New Harmony. His little sister, who had been only 12 years old. His mother, who had been a doctor at the colony hospital. His father, who had stayed behind to help evacuate civilians. All of them gone, killed by the creatures waiting below. The fear faded. Something harder took its place. "We're breaking through," someone shouted. The human transports had punched through the Vorax defensive line. Behind them, the enemy fleet scrambled to turn and pursue, but they were too slow. The humans were already descending toward the planet's surface. "Remember the plan," Chen broadcast to all ships. "We're not here to conquer, we're here to hurt, hit military targets only, make them pay for what they did, and show them what humanity is made of." The landing was brutal. Anti-aircraft fire tore through the sky. 2 more transports went down, their soldiers dying before they could even reach the ground. But the others made it, slamming down in a ring around one of the planet's major military installations. Commander Chen was first out of her transport. She hit the ground running, her rifle already firing. A Vorax warrior charged at her, claws extended. She dropped to one knee, let the creature pass over her and put 3 rounds into its back. Then she was up and moving again. Around her, the other soldiers fanned out. They moved in teams of 4, covering each other as they advanced. Their movements were precise, practiced, the result of endless hours of training. The Vorax fought back with everything they had. They were bigger, stronger, and far more numerous. In any fair fight, they would have won easily. But the humans were not fighting fair. They used the terrain, taking cover behind walls and vehicles. They set traps, collapsing buildings on advancing Vorax forces. They moved constantly, never giving the enemy a stationary target. And they fought with an intensity that the Vorax had never seen before. Sergeant Williams led her squad through a maze of storage buildings. 3 Vorax blocked their path. She didn't hesitate. She threw a grenade high, drawing their eyes upward, then rushed low while they were distracted. Her knife found the soft spot under a Vorax arm. The creature screamed and fell. Her soldiers finished the other 2 before they could react. "Keep moving," she ordered. In another part of the installation, Corporal Tanaka's team had reached their objective. a communications array that coordinated defense across the entire continent. Tanaka worked quickly, placing charges at key structural points. 30 seconds, she reported. A Vorax commander appeared at the entrance to the array building. It was huge, even for its species, covered in ceremonial armor that marked it as a high-ranking officer. "You cannot win," it bellowed. "You are too few, you are weak, you will all die here." Tanaka looked at the timer on her charges. 20 seconds. "You're probably right," she said, "but we're going to hurt you so badly that you'll never forget this day." The Vorax charged. Tanaka held her ground. The charges exploded. The communications array collapsed, taking the Vorax commander with it. Tanaka was thrown clear by the blast, landing hard on the rocky ground. Her arm was broken. Blood ran down her face from a gash on her forehead. But she was smiling. "Objective complete," she reported. Across the installation, similar scenes played out. Human soldiers accomplished the impossible through a combination of training, determination, and sheer refusal to accept defeat. Commander Chen fought at the center of it all. She had been wounded 4 times already. Her armor was cracked. Her rifle had run out of ammunition, replaced by a weapon she had taken from a fallen Vorax. But she kept fighting, kept leading, kept pushing her soldiers forward. A group of enemy warriors cornered her in a narrow alley. There were 6 of them, each one 3 times her size. Logic said she should surrender. Logic said she should accept defeat. Sarah Chen had never been good at accepting anything. She attacked. It was not graceful or pretty. It was brutal, desperate, and absolutely relentless. She took wounds that would have killed most creatures. She dealt worse. When it was over, she was the only one standing. "Commander," Lieutenant Park ran up to her, "we need to extract. The Vorax are bringing in reinforcements, thousands of them." Chen nodded. She was so tired. Her body screamed for rest, for safety, for an end to the fighting. But they weren't done yet. "Call all units. Begin retreat to extraction point. Make them pay for every step they take." The withdrawal was as carefully planned as the assault. The humans fell back in stages, leaving traps and ambushes behind them. The Vorax pursued, eager for revenge, and died in the hundreds as they triggered hidden explosives and walked into kill zones. By the time the surviving humans reached their transports, they had destroyed 3 military installations, killed over 10,000 Vorax warriors, and crippled the planet's primary communication network. They had also lost 63 more soldiers. The transports lifted off under heavy fire. More ships were hit. More soldiers died. But enough made it to orbit, enough broke through the scrambling Vorax fleet, enough jumped to hyperspace before they could be caught. Of the 188 soldiers who had begun the assault, only 94 remained. They had won. The Galactic Council watched the footage in stunned silence. Ambassador Krelvac stood before them, his report complete. Behind him, the screens showed the aftermath of the human assault, the burning military installations, the thousands of Vorax dead, the damaged communication network that would take years to fully repair. "They accomplished all their objectives," High Counselor Thenra said slowly, "with 188 soldiers." "Yes, High Counselor, and they killed over 10,000 Vorax warriors in the process." "The losses among the humans." 94 dead. The remaining soldiers are currently recovering at a neutral station near the outer rim. Thenra was quiet for a long moment. "What is the Vorax response?" "Confusion, High Counselor. They don't understand what happened. Their commanders are calling it impossible. Their population is asking questions that their government cannot answer. For the first time in their history, they have been shown that their strength is not absolute." Another council member spoke up. "Will they retaliate?" "Early indications suggest no. The Vorax leadership is frightened. They lost 10,000 warriors to less than 200 humans. They are trying to calculate what would happen if the humans sent a full military force. The numbers are not in their favor. So Commander Chen achieved her goal, Thenra said. She made them afraid. More than that, High Counselor, she proved something that the entire galaxy is now struggling to process. The humans are not like us. They do not accept the limits that nature places on them. They take ordinary individuals and transform them into something extraordinary through nothing but training and willpower. Krelvex paused, gathering his thoughts. I spoke with several of the surviving soldiers. They are not special. They are not genetic experiments or cybernetic warriors. Before they joined the military, they were farmers and teachers and students. Ordinary beings living ordinary lives. But their training changed them. It broke them down and rebuilt them into something that should not exist. What do you mean? I mean that a human soldier is not defined by their biology. They are defined by their refusal to accept defeat. Every other species in this galaxy has natural limits. We are strong or fast or clever because evolution made us that way. But humans choose what they want to be. They decide that they will be stronger, faster, more determined, and then they make it happen through sheer force of will. The council chamber was silent. Commander Chen told me something before the assault, Krelvax continued. She said that the greatest weapon in the universe is the unbreakable human spirit. At the time, I thought it was dramatic language, meant to inspire her troops. Now I understand she meant it literally. He turned to look at the screens behind him. These humans faced impossible odds. They knew they would probably die. They went anyway, not because they wanted death, but because they believed their cause was worth the sacrifice. That kind of conviction is rare in this galaxy. Most species fight for survival or territory or resources. Humans fight for ideas, for principles, for each other. What would you have us do? Thenra asked. I would suggest that we reconsider our policies toward humanity. They are not the weak, minor species we once believed. They are something entirely new. A civilization that creates champions from regular soldiers through nothing but training and unbreakable will. And if they turn that power against us? Krelvax thought of Commander Chen standing among the ruins of the Vorax installation. He thought of the fire in her eyes and the steel in her voice. Then may the stars help us all, he said quietly, because nothing else will. 3 months later, Commander Sarah Chen stood before the families of her fallen soldiers. The memorial service was held on New Harmony, the world they had fought to avenge. The scars of the Vorax attack were still visible, but rebuilding had begun. 94 names were carved into a monument of white stone. Each name represented a human who had given everything for people they would never meet. Chen spoke slowly, her voice steady despite the emotion she felt. These soldiers were not born heroes. They were people like you and me. They had fears and doubts. They missed their families. They were tired and scared and far from home. But when it mattered, when the moment came to stand or fall, they chose to stand. She looked at the families gathered before her. I cannot give them back to you. I cannot undo what happened. All I can offer is this. Their sacrifice mattered. Because of what they did, the Vorax will think twice before attacking human worlds again. Because of their courage, other children will grow up safe. That is their legacy. That is what they died for. A young boy in the front row raised his hand. He was perhaps 8 years old, with his father's eyes and his mother's determined expression. Commander, my dad was one of your soldiers. He told me before he left that humans can do anything if they try hard enough. Was he right? Chen knelt down to meet the boy's eyes. Your father was absolutely right. We humans are not the biggest or strongest or fastest creatures in the galaxy, but we have something that others don't. We have the power to choose what we become. Every single one of us carries the potential for greatness inside. All we have to do is decide to find it. How? By never giving up, by pushing through when everything says you should stop, by believing in yourself and the people beside you. That's what your father did. That's what made him a hero." The boy nodded slowly. "I want to be like him," he said. "Then you already are," Chen told him. She stood and addressed the crowd one final time. "The galaxy is watching us. They think they finally understand what humans are capable of. But the truth is, they've only seen the beginning. Every child in this crowd has the same potential as the soldiers we honor today. Every farmer and teacher and student can become something extraordinary if they choose to. That is humanity's greatest gift and our deadliest weapon. We are not limited by our bodies or our history. We are limited only by our will, and our will is unbreakable." She saluted the monument, holding the pose for a long moment. "Rest well, soldiers. Your mission is complete. Your legacy will live forever." As the crowd began to disperse, Chen noticed Ambassador Krelvax standing at the edge of the gathering. He had come a long way for this service. "Ambassador," she said, walking over to him, "I'm surprised to see you here." "I wanted to understand," he replied. "I have watched the footage of your assault 100 times. I have read the reports. I have spoken with your soldiers, but I still do not fully comprehend what drives you." "What do you mean?" "Your soldiers knew they would probably die, yet they followed you without hesitation. They gave their lives for people they had never met. How do you inspire such loyalty?" Chen thought for a moment. "I don't inspire it, Ambassador. I recognize it. Every human has that loyalty inside them, that willingness to sacrifice for others. It's part of who we are. All I did was create an opportunity for it to come out." "But how? How does a species develop such traits?" "Because we had to. We're not born with claws or armor or venom. We survived not because of what we were, but because of what we chose to become. We learned that alone we were weak, but together we were strong. We learned that the body has limits, but the spirit does not. We learned that training and can overcome any obstacle." She looked out at the families, walking away from the memorial. "We created champions from regular soldiers because that's what survival required. And once we learned how to do it, we never forgot. Every human carries that knowledge, that potential, inside them. All they need is something worth fighting for, and they can become unstoppable." Krelvex watched her in silence. "Thank you, Commander," he finally said. "I believe I understand now." "Do you?" "Yes. You humans are not dangerous because of your technology or your numbers. You are dangerous because every single one of you carries the potential to become a warrior. Your enemies never know which humans will stand and fight, because any of them might. The farmer might be a soldier. The teacher might be a killer. And when the moment comes, they will transform from ordinary beings into champions through nothing but training and unbreakable will." Chen smiled. "Now you understand." "It is terrifying." "Good. Fear keeps people from making stupid decisions. Tell your council what you learned here. Tell them that humanity is not a threat to those who leave us in peace, but we will never again allow what happened on New Harmony to go unanswered. We are awake now, Ambassador, and we remember what the galaxy tried to teach us." "What was that?" "That we are weak, that we don't matter, that we should accept our place at the bottom of the cosmic hierarchy." Chen's eyes hardened. They were wrong, and anyone who needs a reminder of that is welcome to test us. We have plenty of ordinary soldiers ready to become champions. Ambassador Krelvax left New Harmony that day with a new understanding of the species called humanity. He returned to the Galactic Council and delivered a report that would change everything. "Do not underestimate them," he warned. "Do not attack them. Do not give them reasons to fight, because if you do, they will create champions from their ordinary citizens. They will forge weapons from their farmers and teachers. They will transform themselves through training and will into something that cannot be defeated. And when that happens, no force in the galaxy will be able to stop them." The council listened. And the galaxy remembered. For 1,000 years afterward, species spoke of the Vorax War. They spoke of 188 humans who attacked a world of billions. They spoke of Commander Chen and her soldiers who refused to accept the limits that the universe tried to place on them. Most importantly, they spoke of the lesson that humanity taught them. That the most dangerous creature in the universe is not the one with the biggest claws or the strongest armor. It is the one who will not give up. The one who can take ordinary beings and transform them into extraordinary warriors. The one with training and unbreakable will. That creature is human. And the galaxy learned to fear what humanity could do when pushed. But they also learned to respect it. Because in the end, the greatest strength is not what you are born with. It is what you choose to become.